Hey, everybody. We're very excited for the next installment in our series where we partner with state guilds to take a closer look and dive into their current successes, challenges, and state level trends. So often we have a strong pulse on what's going on in our home states and even on the national level. And we hope these conversations can offer you with valuable insights into what your next door neighbors and not so nearby states are facing. And today, we're talking Rhode Island. And Matt, because you are to the right of me, you get to tell everybody a little bit about what you do in the world of Rhode Island beer first. So appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Andrew. My name is Matt Gray. I'm the owner of Ragged Island Brewing Company. We're a 10-barrel system in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. We are the only brewery in our town. I've also spent time working in the Rhode Island beer scene for many, many years as host of the Rhode Island Brew Fest. Before I owned a brewery, I started the Rhode Island Brew Fest to help celebrate kind of the Rhode Island brewing scene, which has been growing rapidly since 2014. A little bit of a slower start in our state than others as far as the number of breweries, but now we're up to 37 member breweries in the Rhode Island Brewers Guild. And I'm also the president of the board of directors for the Rhode Island Brewers Guild.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Matt.
Thanks for having us.
VG, you're up.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. My name's Josh VG Kaufman. I'm the Director of Finance and Administration at Proclamation Ale, which I like to call is Warwick's best kept secret. We have a 30-barrel system, make great New England IPAs, lagers, fruited sours, everything under the sun. Been in the scene since around 2018, and then recently, within the last year, made the jump to the Rhode Island Brewers Guild board, where I am the marketing co-chair.
Well,
chair.
VG, I imagine everyone else on the call knows the answer to this, but I do not. What does VG stand for?
So VG was it was a college nickname of mine, and when I started at
no, is it safe for us to talk about right now?
Oh no, it's totally safe. It's totally safe. When I started at Proc, there was another Josh who was working there. And it got kind of confusing because we had very similar builds and everything else, and we were doing similar stuff. So I told them what my fraternity nickname was, which was Vanilla Gorilla, as I am a large human being. And it kind of stuck. And then around the brewery, I just started being called VG. And that's kind of how it goes. So now I'm Josh VG Kaufman on everything.
How many beers have you named after yourself because of that?
So I haven't gotten to name a beer after myself yet. We have a stout day every fall, winter area. So I think this year we might actually get a VG specialty stout this year. So
I feel like that makes
sense. That. Yeah.
Well, congratulations in advance.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good to see you again. Last time I saw you, you were in North Carolina.
Yeah, well, we did cross paths briefly in Nashville.
That's correct. Outside that state guild room.
That's right. No, great to see you again. Yes, I am back in my home state of Rhode Island. Very happy to be here as the executive director of the Rhode Island Brewers Guild. As you know, I had a similar role back in Charlotte with the regional alliance there. But this is something that I've always been kind of inching toward. My wife and family and I have always wanted to return to New England. So to come into this role has been a dream come true. And to work with such an illustrious board is just the cherry on top. So enjoying my role in this beautiful ocean state with this emerging brewery scene. As Matt mentioned, we've got 37 breweries in operation, and I'll just touch on one national note. We're the only one, or maybe one of very few, that has 100% brewery participation in the guild. So something that we're all very proud of, and it's just been a pleasure working with these guys so far. I do have a few more folks to meet, but have really enjoyed the role since beginning in May.
I like that humble brag, and it's extremely impressive to have 100% of breweries as part of the guild. Amazing. Good work there.
Thank you.
No, Luke, you're up.
Hey, Andrew. Thanks for having all of us here today. My name is Luke Gerweck. I'm the brewer over here at Tilted Barn Brewery in Exeter, Rhode Island. I've been a member of the Rhode Island beer scene since around 2017. I started as an intern at a larger regional brewery in Rhode Island, and I guess I just never left. So I owe my professional development to the Rhode Island Brewers Guild and to the Rhode Island brewers I've met along the way. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be representing Rhode Island as the technical chair and helping Rhode Islanders to grow and develop on a educational and technical front.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Luke. Now, before we dive into a lot of what the Guild is doing and what's going on in Rhode Island beer, I've been to Rhode Island only once. I went on a nice hike outside of Providence. Then everybody told me I had to have coffee milk, which I guess is a big Rhode Island thing. But what is Rhode Island known for? If you had to sum up your state in, a sentence or two, what should others know about Rhode Island?
Sure. I'll take that. First and foremost, you need to know about its breweries. But beyond that, it's really about its beauty and its beaches. It's the ocean state. Newport, Rhode Island, is such a tourist destination. It's a unique state, lots of personality despite its small size. And there are a lot of larger than life personalities here. And again, it's beauty, its breweries, its beaches.
Now, Matt, you unmuted pretty quickly on that one too. What's Rhode Island known for?
Yeah, I mean, as Nils alluded to, we're the smallest state, but I think we have some real big character. We've always been kind of the rebels. We're the first to secede from the British, and the last to sign the original colonies to join. So we are, we've always had a little bit of an independent streak to us, and I think that's something we're also known for, besides our scenic beauty. And really, I think of it as the world as 6 degrees of separation. Well, the state of Rhode Island is about 2.5. So that's one thing that actually can be a huge benefit to us and an asset to us at times, and other times it becomes a frustration of ours.
Now, Matt, I've got another question, for you. In your introduction, you mentioned that Rhode Island had a somewhat slow start for breweries. Why was that the case?
It's an interesting conversation because what I noticed was I would travel around to other New England states. You'd be going to places like New Hampshire and Massachusetts and Maine and Vermont, and the per capita brewery rates were much higher, much earlier than us. And for whatever reason, the state of Rhode Island was just not producing new breweries. We had a handful over the years, and we were steadily adding one every other year or so for a little while there. But around 2014, the laws changed to allow us to do a taproom business versus just a production brewery for distribution. The 3-tier system in Rhode Island is alive and well, and it's very strong as far as the wholesale lobbies and the retailers go. But we didn't have as big of a voice as Brewers, just because the volume of our number of breweries was low, and in that system, the other guys had been around a long time, and all the breweries had not. So now that's changed quite a bit. There's 37 breweries. When the Guild was founded, I believe there were only 5. There were 5 original members of the Rhode Island Brewers Guild at its founding. So we've seen accelerated growth through 16, 17, 18, and then continued to grow 19, and even during the pandemic, a couple of breweries were able to open. So we've only had a couple of breweries close over that time as well. So the health of our market is pretty great.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And VG and Luke, both your breweries opened in 2014. Matt, you were in 2016. And over that time to now, the number of breweries in the United States has literally tripled. Matt, you shared a bit about, where we're at currently. We're at 37 in Rhode Island right now. But what stands out to you all the most about how you've grown and looking at, say, 2014 versus 2023? What are the biggest differences in the Rhode Island beer landscape that you all observe?
So something I've noticed developing in the Rhode Island beer scene over the last 2 to 3 years is really the focus and the creation of community hubs. Rhode Island is a very small state, and Rhode Islanders will always laugh at each other about referring to something as Rhode Island far. If it's a 10, 15-minute drive, you almost have to pack a snack just to survive the expedition. And something really wonderful that I feel as though Rhode Islanders have been celebrating as a whole, and the breweries have really been nurturing, is developing the breweries just not as a place to enjoy and consume wonderfully crafted beers, but also truly enjoy the spaces that we're welcoming people into and the experiences we can provide. When I first started in the beer scene, it was a young, somewhat taproom focused crowd, and we really didn't have events that nurtured people to stay and enjoy. And over the last couple of years, I've really appreciated and lauded Rhode Island brewers for stepping up and really fostering and developing those community spaces, offering concerts, live events, pizza making classes, pasta making classes. People are so creative with not only the beers they're producing, but also just creating a space that makes people feel welcome and important. And I think that that's something really nice about Rhode Island being so small, is we are able to cater to our crowd a little bit more, and really highlight our differences and turn those into strengths.
Oh, really cool to hear that, Luke. Josh, VG?
Yeah, I mean, Luke put it so eloquently. It's hard to kind of follow that up, but I mean, in Rhode Island, and I think in the beer scenes, I think across the nation, I mean, it's really just, it's a different type of community. So obviously everybody wants to sell their beer, but there's a great camaraderie and a great community aspect to all the breweries, whether it's you want to do collabs, anything else like that. And with Rhode Island being so small, you can, everybody in the beer scene. I think, you take a state like New York, who has a ton of different breweries, a smaller brewery is not going to be able to talk to a bigger brewery. Whereas in our state, you could have a brewery that has a 1-barrel system and they do a collab with a brewery that has a 30-barrel system. So you have that big community aspect there. And then, as Luke said, I mean, it's a lot of our breweries are not just, making beer and selling beer. It's really about the experience. Whether it's a, beer fest on a farm at Tilted Barn, or if it's a skate event at Proclamation Ale, or the countless kind of beer events that we have all across the year, the Newport Beer Fest, the Ocean State Beer Fest, all of that is really just taking the community and saying, listen, we have some of the best beer in the country, and you can realistically hit all 38 breweries, in a couple days if you really want to. That's the really amazing thing, where you can try out all of the best beer that Rhode Island has to offer in just a few short days in a short little trip. So add that to Newport and everything else. That's what's really great about Rhode Island.
Now, Nils, you went away for a little bit. You went to Carolina. You came back to Rhode Island. What changes did you notice with regards to the beer scene upon your return?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a handful, going back to 2014 and prior. And now just to have so many options is really cool. What I think really strikes me is the experience. Although varied in the Charlotte area, it was just very much a metro environment, right? With tap rooms tucked in and brewery systems tucked into the tap room footprint. I think here you just get so much variety, whether it's a farm brewery like Ragged Islands or Tilted Barn, or something a bit more industrial like VG in Warwick at Proclamation, or Pivotal Brewing in Bristol, Rhode Island. There's that rural, there's that urban, there's that farm setting. There's just such a wide variety. And I think that's what keeps it so interesting for me, where before, yeah, I'm cruising around to different hubs and neighborhoods, but it all felt somewhat similar. Here, it's a different experience, and whatever you're looking for, whatever you're in the mood for, you can find it, and I think that's really special.
Now, one thing, Luke, that you mentioned was, people have Rhode Island far. People think Rhode Island far. When you have to travel 10 to 15 minutes, it feels like a long time. It's apparent just through the rapport of the four of you today that you interact quite a bit, and there's a lot of collaboration and community between the brewing industry, in Rhode Island. But for consumers and your guests, how are you getting them to go and drive that extra mile or so to go outside their normal bubble? I mean, we talk a little bit about events, but how do you keep them from going to Tilted Barn over and over again because of your awesome experience and to going to other locations across the state?
It's a good question. So I feel as though the general consumer is more likely to make their day trips and find those new experiences in places that they can really find, something special and new and inviting. I might be speaking from a personal point on that of 10 to 15 is quite far, but we have a cool kind of geography in Rhode Island where we're split up into 4 counties, but it's almost like a triangle. You have South County, which is close to like the Narragansett beaches down there, Westerly, Kingston. You have East Bay, which is Bristol, Portsmouth, Newport, Jamestown. And then you have the Providence and Northern Rhode Island kind of circuit into the north. And we're kind of split up by bridges and by water. So a lot of people really welcome those little getaways, especially like coming north to south or south to north, see something new. Going to the woods up in Chepachet, and going for a nice hike. So we are really able to celebrate our geographic differences, even over just such a small range.
That was a good lesson on Rhode Island. Now, I guess, outside of geographic differences, do you see any unique trends in like what the consumers are wanting to drink? Are there certain beer styles that you believe are more Rhode Island-y than, let's say, we're seeing in other parts of the country?
I'd probably say that all of us would agree that a New England style IPA is probably the #1 seller at all of our tap rooms. The second seller at our place is going to be our gluten-free hard limeade, though, which is kind of a seltzer. A product that I never knew we were going to make, but certainly one that's helped with our consumers' choices so that, if you have somebody in your party that's gluten-free, that's something that kind of opens the door for them to still come and enjoy our space. That's, a little bit more unique to us. And I think most of our breweries out there have something to offer like that as well. So, and another unique trend that I've seen is that we sell a non-alcoholic brand in our space as well. And I'm quite shocked at how many NA beers we sell.
What's the name of that brand, Matt?
We use the Athletic Brewing Company because it's just got great quality product. We could all go out and try and brew our own non-alcoholic beer. But those guys have done a great job with it. Their marketing and branding is great, and it's well recognized by the consumers. So I think that helps, kind of fulfill that niche as well for those who want to come and enjoy the space and be here amongst friends. But if they're not drinking, they, have a good option as well.
Now, I'd like to switch it up a little bit. Nils, you were in Charlotte for a little bit. You led the Charlotte Independent Brewers Alliance. What would you say is the biggest difference between a city guild versus running a state guild like you are now?
Wow, that's interesting. I think I don't know. Maybe it's just the pace. I think in a metro area like Charlotte, it's really the same consumer, right? That you're appealing to, that you're marketing to. It's the same issues that maybe you're trying to advocate for or against. I just think there's so much diversity here that makes it unique. Though it's a small state, it is statewide. The thought process, the marketing, just the different pockets across the state. But Yeah, all in all, I think, what goes back in my mind to kind of uniting everyone here is this concept of our brewery passport, which is really cool. I remember, and I still have a couple older versions, which were the paper stamps. We've transitioned to a digital program now, and that's something VG and I have been working on extensively over the last several months, optimizing that passport and getting utilization out of it, because it is a really unique opportunity. Like VG said, hitting 36 breweries in a weekend or a long weekend is something that is attainable, and to experience.
You see a lot of consumers hitting 36 breweries over a weekend, Nils. Come on, really?
Long weekends?
Are you going to be my driver for that adventure?
I would not be the driver, no. But no, a taste. Maybe it is an NA beer at a stop or two, or a bite to eat at a brew pub. But it is doable. We've seen it done from some of our users, and believe it or not, where there's a will, there's a way.
No, that's really interesting. So talk to me a little bit about how this brewery, you call it the Brewery Passport, correct?
The Rhode Island Brewery Passport, right.
How did this come to be? And, how are you getting, beer drinkers excited for it?
Yeah, this started some time ago. I mean, it looks like a passport, the original version, right? Folded up with a grid of all the breweries. I think it was that notion of conquerability. Hey, we can do this. It's not that big a state. Let's knock them out. And now that we have a digital version, there's a lot more, just usage out of it. We can send push notifications. We can email folks about updates and different events, different trails, things like that. So it really had been, from kind of the outside looking in, that was very much what I associated the Rhode Island Brewers Guild to be promoting and supporting, was this brewery passport. And I think that's just a component of it now. And now it's really about connectivity and a lot of the items that Luke was mentioning.
No, I love that. I also love the word conquerability. I think that's definitely good motivation for people to use the app. But are there any sort of incentives involved when breweries, when guests visit breweries or complete a trail?
Sure. It's very straightforward. 10 brewery visits and you're getting a prize. We start with a really cool branded pint glass. Once you get to 20, now it's a custom beanie with a cool patch that you can wear in the cooler months, of course. And then we roll out a mystery prize that yours truly packages and will mail to you once you hit the 30 brewery mark. So we're going to keep that a mystery, but we're always thinking of ways to keep the consumer engaged. And one really interesting feature that we'll roll out when Rhode Island Craft Beer Week returns in March is the idea that, the way it's set up now is you get these points and stamps for your unique visits. There's only one stamp, right, per brewery. There's 37 breweries. But let's reward those that are making multiple visits to the same brewery, and change the scale a bit for the points and how those rewards are given away. But I think there's so much for that loyalty factor. VG runs an incredible trivia every Thursday, I believe. And, you've got the regulars there. They should be using the Passport app, checking in and getting credit and building up their points board. So that'll be a new feature we roll out in 2024.
Love it. Diving more into the consumer side of things, you mentioned Rhode Island Beer Week. You also do a little bit of Fest. I'd love for you to all explain, the events that you do have over the course of the year for the consumers and why they're important to the Guild.
Sure, I'll jump in on that. So we've, as a Guild, we recently updated our bylaws to include 2 more members of the board of director. So we're very fortunate now to have 7 people on the board. The original 5 were our original 5 breweries that started, so that's why there were only 5. Now that the Guild has grown to 38 with so many varying types of breweries, whether they be brew pubs or small, kind of nano breweries, or some of the larger scale breweries that we see out there. We really wanted to kind of utilize that growth to our advantage. The Passport's an incredible program, but just like most guilds, beer festivals are a way for the community to come together, whether that be the brewers themselves and our fans. So that's what we have going on. We have 2 major events a year that are actually fundraisers that help fund the guild and all of our activities. That includes the Newport Beer Festival, which is a 1-session beer fest. It's being held at Fort Adams State Park in April. Next year will be on April 20th. That event right there can have well over 1,000 people attend. We have representation from almost every brewery participating there, and not just a person behind the booth, but somebody who's deeply connected to the brewery itself, whether it's the owners or brewers themselves. So that's a really great, fun event. Good to see a lot of people out there early in the season before things get too hectic down in the city of Newport to be able to get everybody there easily. Then we have the Ocean State Beer Festival that we host in every August, and that is a Rhode Island Breweries only event. So you only have just the membership at that event, and it's definitely a smaller group. We only have just over 400 people attend. We really want to keep that one kind of small in scale to reward those who attend, to be able to spend as much time chatting with the members of the Rhode Island Brewers Guild that they've come to know, maybe only from the beer, and now get a chance to get to know the people themselves too. So that's a really fun event that kind of rotates from brewery to brewery. Most of the breweries on this call here have hosted it once. I don't know if Tilted Barn has, but it's just an opportunity to have the brewing community come to your facility, and then have just a nice fundraising event that's a little bit smaller on scale, a little bit more manageable. So those are two of the bigger festivals that we have, and a way to bring people out. And the third one we'll touch on is the Rhode Island Craft Beer Week, which has gone through 2 iterations. Was founded post-pandemic as a kind of just another way to get our names out there, to kind of reclaim that space and say, we should focus on what amazing manufacturers are doing in the state of Rhode Island. Another little history lesson: Rhode Island was a huge manufacturing community. We were the Industrial Revolution. We were at the forefront of jewelry manufacturing. We were clothing, textiles, all that. And that obviously has faded over the years. But it's great to see breweries opening that are taking on those spaces, even literally just going into these old warehouses and reclaiming them as a manufacturing facility, creating new jobs in that sector. And I think over the last 10, 15 years, we've got to be the largest and most robust manufacturing sector to grow in the state of Rhode Island. So it's getting back to the Rhode Island Craft Beer Week. That's an opportunity to allow not only the breweries to shine, but also our business partners and our wholesale distribution and our retailers to really get around the incredibly good product that is being made here in the state, and to celebrate that as for a week every March has been a lot of fun, and the events keep getting better and better, and it's we're really looking forward to the next year.
I love it. In 30 minutes in, you've already got me wanting to plan a trip back up to Rhode Island. So you're doing a good job of selling the state. But, speaking of all the local Rhode Island residents there, there's 37 breweries. You do these events. Do you feel, because of the size of your state and the number of breweries, they have more personal connections with the breweries?
It's quite possible. I mean, to be honest with you, I visited breweries outside of our state, but the camaraderie that I feel in our state is tremendous. I could probably sit here and list every single brewery for you. I'm not going to do it on, but just off the top of my head, just knowing all the people that are involved, that over the last 12 years have really just come together, grown, and succeeded as individual businesses. It's been a tremendous thing to watch. And some really just fantastic people, which is, one of the things I think the state of Rhode Island has, is that, brewery to brewery, you can go in and say hello to folks, and the staff are all wonderful and kind, and, are really engaged and caring. about your experience. So I think that helps separate us from others potentially, but just the fact that we all get a chance to know each other through participation in the Brewers Guild events, or as I've gotten to know all these guys on the call here, through the board of directors itself, where the true passion is shown, where the true leadership is helping continue to take Rhode Island to the next level every opportunity we can. So, adding Nils as an executive director was certainly a part of that, and taking the role from a part-time position that was held by Garrett Richardson for many years, and he did a tremendous job for us. But knowing that with the size and scale of the guild and what we've grown into over the last 14 years, that position needed to be one that has a full-time focus on it, because there's a lot of moving parts. You've got festivals, you got events, you've got legislative committee items, you've got we've got our technical committee meetings are robust now, so everything's trending in the right direction, and again, Nils is a huge part of that.
Very cool. No, Luke, I'd like to focus on something you said earlier. You mentioned how you probably wouldn't be where you are right now without the educational resources that the Guild has helped you with. Talk to me a little bit about the value you've found over the years through the Guild and education.
Yeah, sure. So again, when I first started in Rhode Island, I was brought in at a larger regional brewery as a PR and marketing intern, and I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I was simply looking for that foot in the door, which I was fortunate enough to obtain at Newport Storm, and the staff there really catered towards my development and saw an area where I could grow. I was passionate, but at the same time, I was equally as competitive. I always grew up playing team sports, and I saw any challenge we faced in the brewery as not a step back, but a new opportunity to move forward. And this is back, senior year of college. I was invited to go to my first Rhode Island Brewers Guild technical meeting. I was held at Foolproof, and it was on off-flavor sensory training. And it just hooked me right there. It was like, oh my goodness, yeast can do what? So for all intents and purposes, and full disclosure, I homebrewed about 2 times, and then I brewed my first professional batch. So sorry, whoever got bottles of that. But I was really thrown into the fire in the coolest way possible, just consistent support and opportunities to fail, but then learn from those failures. And that whole time I was nurtured to go to these guild events, go to MBAA meetings, learn what I can from my community, but then also appreciate when your community has questions for you. So over the last 3 to 4 years, from a technical perspective in Rhode Island, we really struggled. I think a lot of it during COVID made it hard to meet up and be together and learn together. And it seemed to take a back seat. So with the resurgence of and the growth of the Rhode Island Brewers Guild, we really wanted to focus on the technical improvements that we could make together for each other. Simply with a growing number of breweries in the state, it's important that the quality of the beer is represented at a high quality to keep people thinking of Rhode Island beer in its highest quality. So I was fortunate enough to be trusted, along with my co-chair Homer from Shades On, to help set up and listen to our guild members to develop the best routes we could see possible to where to fill their needs. And from an avenue, we've both really tried to focus on doing this for everybody. I think that's something that as a board and as a guild, we've really worked hard on, where we're not doing this necessarily for personal gratification. We're doing this to see Rhode Island beer succeed. And I think that's something really cool, where I can get a text from a peer on a Tuesday saying, hey, I'm having a problem with this pump seal. And I can pick up the phone and talk to them. And then if I can't get them through it, I can have them talk to someone else or send a video or drive the 15 minutes to the brewery where someone can help them.
You better bring a snack.
You have to, especially if you're coming to visit me. I normally skip lunch. But it's something really incredible with the state is the shared knowledge and the selflessness of most everybody who I've experienced my time here with. Everybody's always willing to lend you an ear and to talk to you. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing, and something that's to be celebrated.
No, that's really awesome to hear. Now, Nils, from your position as an executive director of the Guild, what resources and value are you most proud of that you all provide your members?
Communication. I mean, first and foremost, that's vital. You know, someone's in need, someone's in a pinch. We have a really strong communication system. You know, whether it's calls, it's email based, it's newsletter based, and so on. That I think that is incredibly valuable. I think programming in general and just having a really strong schedule in place. I mean, I haven't had to create anything just yet. Looking forward to shaping some things and putting my fingerprints on them. But there are so many good pieces in place here. Matt mentioned the two festivals, Ocean State Brewers Fest, Newport Beer Festival. And Luke and Homer have done an incredible job putting together a technical schedule throughout the year. And, you know, if it's not monthly, it's just about monthly. There's something for you to do to engage with your fellow brewers through a technical learning event, just through an industry night socializing, or certainly gathering at a larger event like a festival. You know, we provide those opportunities. We're communicating about them. We're letting people know, hey, here's what's going on legislatively, things that we're considering. And we're always eliciting feedback too. I think we're totally all about open ears and eyes. What's bothering you? What's a concern? You know, bring that to us as a board, and maybe we can do some of that heavy lifting and that tackling on your behalf. And that all goes back to having clear and open lines of communication.
Now, you mentioned newsletters. How often are you sending newsletters to your members? I love a good newsletter.
Yeah, I mean, they're not as colorful maybe as some of the other national newsletters I've seen, but it was a weekly thing I was sending. I've pared that back to biweekly just because there was a bit of repetition in the content, but we keep it fresh, we keep it light, keep it humorous. I'll throw in a meme here and there. But it's every other week, and it's all you need to know. You know, I hear from brewers that, you know, they're incredibly busy. They're wearing a lot of hats. But I've heard from several that they do appreciate getting regular correspondence, as busy as they are. So I'm glad those emails are getting opened and read, and, yeah, I'll keep it going.
Love it. So for everyone, what are the current challenges Rhode Island beer is facing right now? I mean, from each of your unique perspective, is there anything you're working to overcome?
I'll speak to that a little bit. I spent a lot of time with the legislative committee chair, kind of discussing, you know, the ins and outs and what could be done. But in all honesty, I know we've made a lot of gains in the last few years on the legislative side, but we still look to our neighboring states of Connecticut and Massachusetts, and we still see that the laws are a little bit more restrictive and prohibitive here than they are in our neighboring states. And so just from a competitive, you know, landscape, I'd prefer it if we, you know, either mirrored either one of the states in our brewery manufacturing laws to allow us to have even more opportunity for growth, just like, you know, our neighbors. And for my, you know, where we are in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, you know, Fall River, Massachusetts is closer to me than any of the other brewers I'm talking to right now. So to be on par and to be competitive with our neighboring states is something that I think is a challenge that I think we can hopefully overcome in the next few legislative sessions. Part of it's an education, you know, learning as we go that, you know, as passionate as we are and as knowledgeable as our membership might be on all the different laws that that we have to deal with in our state. Our legislators are not as knowledgeable. They're dealing with an entire, statewide, group of laws that they're constantly editing, updating, and hopefully changing for the better to be as competitive as we can be as a state. But unique to our very small market, there's a lot of things that could be done differently to help us grow. For instance, Massachusetts has distribution by right, self-distribution by right, which is an incredible opportunity for breweries, and seeing the likes of a Treehouse and a Trillium who have very much used that to their advantage in Massachusetts to open multiple locations, whether it be beer gardens or beer halls, where they can sell their product not only in their own taproom space but all over the state. Whereas in our state we have some breweries that are probably only like a couple hundred square feet in space. And that's the only spot where they're going to be able to sell. For us, we're fortunate to have a big farm here where we can spread people out, and on a beautiful sunny day, you can have quite a few people here. There's a lot of other, breweries that may be interested in expanding their retail footprint, but as the laws are written right now, we can't do that. So, there's those kind of things on a legislative level I think we could be doing better that are kind of a challenge point, but that's what the Brewers Guild is here for, is to have these conversations, to go out to the public and ask them to get behind it with us. And to be honest with you, that's one of the best things about the Rhode Island beer community, is that anytime we need their voice, they're right there ready to be a part of the process to help their small businesses succeed. So that's a positive too. Is our size is a challenge at times, but it's also something that could be a great strength for us.
No, I really like that, Matt. VG, from your perspective, are there any current challenges you're facing in the industry with just being a brewery in Rhode Island?
I'd say Matt kind of hit it kind of perfectly, where it's really just looking at our neighbors outside. So Proclamation Ale started around the same time as Trillium, but we've seen Trillium have kind of really great growth in Massachusetts. Whereas, in Rhode Island, up until a couple of years ago, you couldn't sell more than a case of beer to a customer walking outside the door of a tap room. Before that, you could only really sell them growlers. So, the growth that we've had in the last couple of years has really been on that legislative side, as well as, on the side that we have a lot of creative people here in Rhode Island. And that creativity, shows through our beer, which is why we've been able to have such kind of great growth from a brewery number perspective the last couple of years, because you have a lot of people who are just able to now do it and start to kind of scale up their production and produce the beer that they want to produce. We have, as I said before, we have almost 40 breweries, and every brewery is doing a lot of great beer. Over at Proc, we're releasing a one-off beer basically every 2 to 3 weeks. So that's a brand new beer coming out all the time. We had one of our vendors was like, you guys produce one-offs at an exponential rate. Like, it's pretty incredible that, that creativity really shines through. And then you get to collaborate with great people all around the state and all these different breweries to sort of bring that community in. So yeah, I think through some of the troubles that we've had, or maybe rules that are a little bit different, is putting it in a better way. We've still been able to really grow the Rhode Island craft community through that. And soon enough, we're going to be one of the number one states for beer, just because we're so small and you can hit so many great beer locations in a couple of days, a long weekend. Nils and I, we're gonna strap some GoPros to us, and we'll prove to you you can hit all these breweries in a couple of days.
If you need a dummy, I'll be your dummy. Just give me a driver. Let's go.
Yeah, you come in. You come on in. We'll get a driver and we'll do it.
So VG, you all had mentioned earlier in the call that at one point you were seeing like 1 or 2 new breweries in Rhode Island a year. What's growth currently looking like, and where do you, look at that crystal ball, think you'll be in about 5 years?
I love being a fortune teller.
I put you on the spot for this one.
Yeah, you did put me on the spot there. So at least the stat that I've gone off of is that we're one of the only states where during the pandemic, we didn't really have any breweries close. So that's a testament to the Rhode Island beer community kind of saying, listen, I know we can't be in your tap rooms anymore, but we still want to pick up your beer, whether it's, in the retail store, in the restaurant, if you could get it to go, or even drive-by sales at the breweries, which a lot of us did. But what we're also seeing is that we have a couple of breweries that start kind of mini programs within their breweries, and I'm forgetting the technical term for that. But you'll have a smaller scale brewery start within a brewery, and that kind of sizes up and sizes up and sizes up. And I think we're going to start to see a little bit more of those, where it's kind of like not boutique sort of brands, but just people who just want to make beer. They're already working at a brewery, and they can start their own brand and grow from there. So we have a couple of success stories there that we've seen that happen. But I really think we're gonna really establish ourselves as one of the top beer destinations in the nation. That's what I'm really excited for, because you have Vermont. It's only a couple states away. You have New Hampshire, only a couple states away. Maine too, and I know that per capita we're only 1 million plus people here. We can definitely crush those when it comes to breweries per capita. So
I'm excited to see it. Now I want to talk about, what you all have produced in state. Luke, are there any, unique ingredients that you all are growing specifically in Rhode Island?
Yeah. So as I kind of alluded to before, Rhode Island is so geographically different in such a small contained environment that we really do have a lot of wonderful options just within arm's reach of us. This past fall, the Rhode Island Brewers really stepped up, and we really dove headfirst into wet hop beers, fresh hop beers for our West Coast listeners. And right up in Gloucester, Rhode Island, is a local hop farm called Huntington House. They have been Guild supporters since they started, and we were so fortunate for them to invite us out for a nice tour of their field. And a lot of brewers in the state chose to highlight the use of their hops during this picking season. Some of the best Cascade I've experienced, which goes to a testament to the local terroir we have here and just the beautiful growing conditions. A cool thing geographically about Rhode Island is we are on that 42nd latitude. And if you follow that over the ocean and you go through, you'll notice that falls into the northern French, southern Germany border, which is where a lot of beautiful wine is grown, a lot of beautiful grapes, which in turn are turned into wine. And something very cool about Rhode Island is we have some beautiful vineyards, Newport Vineyards, Greenvale, both on Aquidneck Island, Sakonnet Vineyard right over the bridge as well. Breweries will highlight and feature the use of some locally pressed grape skins or grape must through their pressing season as well, and their mixed firm programs. And then, just what can we capture from Rhode Island? So you think we're the ocean state. We have breweries making oyster stouts and featuring oysters in all sorts of different types of beers. Sea salt, Newport Sea Salt Company has been such a wonderful small family-owned business. He still goes out and gets the salt water out 5 gallons at a time and boils it down for brewers to highlight and feature in their beers. And we do have a growing farm brewery and a focus on locally grown ingredients. I know myself and Ragged Island, we both keep beehives, and we're able to feature honey that we grow or that we raise ourselves. In addition, there's some maple syrup producers in Rhode Island. People might not realize that. So being able to feature Rhode Island produced maple syrup is extremely cool. You know, it's a small state, but we really pack a lot. And then right over the border, we have some beautiful maltsters, Thrall in Connecticut, Valley Malt, who sources grains from Massachusetts and Western New York. And Four Star Hop Farms right up in North Adams, Massachusetts has been a great companion to Rhode Island breweries as well.
Awesome. Thank you for all that. Now, you know, as we wind down, we've talked about so much about what you got going on with the Guild, a little bit of Rhode Island history, a little bit about what you all are doing for the consumers and the beer drinkers in your state and how you're bringing them together. We often have short attention spans. We don't remember a whole lot. If you were talking to another craft beer professional, what is one thing you'd want them to remember about what you have going on in the Rhode Island beer community right now? And I love to kind of take it around the circle. You don't have to go in that original order, but if people remember one thing about what we talked about today with Rhode Island beer, what do you want them to take away?
I'll say, you know, we're a small state, but we pack a big punch. You know, we've got great product. And as Nils alluded to, it's not that hard to get to almost every one of them, you know, within a reasonable amount of time. So I think that's a really unique thing that we have that nobody else can do.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say kind of the same. And it's, I think it's a tagline that our late founder initially put on cans. And then he was like, I don't totally like this anymore. But it was big beer from a small state, which really, like, you know, you can hit them all, and we have a great community, and everybody just wants everybody to succeed here and just make good beer and have fun experiences.
I really love the sense of community you all have stressed today. Love it. Nils, you're up. You're up or unmute, so I'm going to go with you.
Sure. I think it's it certainly is the accessibility of all the breweries in the state. I think what I find so interesting and meaningful when I visit breweries is getting to know the brewers and the owners. And I think here, it more so than you know, I don't know. There's because of the size. Once again, it really does feel like an extended family. And these personalities that you get to know, I think they just stick out. I remember the faces that have been around for years, and it really is that connectivity and the connections you make when you make your way around to the breweries here. You will remember the breweries that you visit here, and by golly, you're going to hit all of them when you do visit.
I love it. And Luke, take us home.
All right. Yeah, I think one of the coolest things about the Rhode Island beer scene is that we celebrate our diversity and what we can offer to our consumers, be it the taproom space we're in or the styles of beer being produced. You know, Matt alluded to it in the beginning. We've always kind of been the rebel rousers of New England. And brewers here aren't afraid to brew outside the box. You know, you go to Narragansett Brewery, Lee and the team up there, they're brewing historically accurate styles of porter from when Narragansett was founded. And they're not afraid to throw that down. And they do such a beautiful job at it. You know, our farm breweries and our more wild breweries are out there making mixed fermentation beers and really highlighting that farm to glass mentality. And I think that the biggest takeaway that I have from Rhode Island beer is that we are making beer for the conversation. We're making wonderful beer that's bringing people together and really fostering folks to hang out and see what we have to offer. And I think that's a really, really neat thing.
I think you summed it up really nice there, Luke.
Sweet.
Now, for everyone else, is there anything else you'd like to add to the conversation for today before we sign off? Well, I know I appreciate learning so much about Rhode Island beer, and you all have really motivated me to want to come hit all 37 breweries in a weekend. So I'll definitely hit you up when I do. But VG, Nils, Luke, and Matt, this has been an awesome conversation. Thanks for sharing so much about Rhode Island and what you've got going on. We appreciate you.
Thank
you so much, Andrew.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.